Y'all, we're in the nation's capital. We're at the Museum of the Bible. We're together and we're talking about faith. Did anybody else pick up on that? I wouldn't want to be anywhere else. Well, Mr. President, America's faith communities are responding with overwhelming enthusiasm, as you can see here today. Today, more than 70 major faith organizations and churches have joined together to participate in what we're calling America Prays.
Here's the thing. There's more to this than what you might think. Come on, we need to talk. They're calling for 70 different religious faith groups to come together and pray for America for the next year until July 4th. For 1 million people with groups. What does this mean? Is this even necessary to talk about? Here's the thing. This isn't just a little church group saying, let's pray for our country. This is the government with 70 different faith organizations getting involved with the politics, with the politicians, with mandates, with all of these things. We need to make America pray again. This is where this all comes full circle. Now, it's not going to end here. Let me read you a quote from Darkness Before Dawn. In the movements now in progress in the United States to secure for the institutions and usages of the church the support of the state, Protestants are following in the steps of the papists. Nay, more. They're opening the door for the papacy to regain in Protestant America the supremacy which she had lost in the Old World. And that which gives greater significance to this movement is the fact that the principal object contemplated is the enforcement of Sunday observance, a custom which originated with Rome, and which she claims is the sign of her authority. It is the spirit of the papacy, the spirit of conformity to the worldly customs, the veneration for human traditions above the commandments of God, that is permitting the Protestant churches and leading them on to do the same work of Sunday exaltation which the papacy has done before them. Now, what did the papacy do when it was the world power? It persecuted all those who didn't have the same religious faith ideas and ideologies that they did. From 538, they enforced something called a Sunday law. And many people don't know this about the history of the papacy, but that Sunday law went from 538 all the way to 1798. Now, when we look at Revelation 13, it says that there is an image to the beast, this next kingdom, a Protestant kingdom, a Christian nation, that is going to make an image to the beast and is going to exercise all the same authority of the first beast. Now, this is a very important timeline of events that we're looking at, and I want to share with you something that might make this a bit more clear. Now, when we look at Revelation chapter 13, it says something very interesting. Revelation 13, verse 16. And he causeth all. This is the image of the beast. This is the Protestant America in Revelation. Now, if you don't know about Protestant America in prophecy, go to our series called America's Prophetic Destiny, 4-part mini-series. Go take a look at it. But we'll continue, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark. This mark is really important in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell. This is verse 17. Save he that had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. So when we look at Revelation, chapter 13, verse 16 to 17, we have this idea of something called a mark, and connected to this mark, there is a no buying or selling. This is really important for the prophetic timeline. When we look at the timeline of events in the Bible, in 1844, we had the start of the Judgement. This is talked about in the book of Daniel. This is the end of the 2300-year prophecy. Now, we're going to skip forward a little bit to something in 1888. Now, what is so fascinating about this date? In 1888, there was something called the Blair's Bill. This was the first introduction of a national Sunday law in America. The Blair's Bill, people were going to be enforcing this Sunday law rest bill. Luckily, someone named A.T. Jones came and went before the Senate, and it was repealed. Now, fast forwarding, we're going to today, 2025. Now, in 2025, we have all this talk about uniting the churches, uniting the different faith groups, and getting them involved in the government. Not only just involved in the government, but they're going to have power like they've never had before. Now, if we continue looking down the trend, here we have 2025. If we understand Bible prophecy correctly, sometime in the future, there is going to be a no buy, no sell. This is a very important thing that we need to understand. God warns us of things that are coming, but we need to actually take action before it happens. Now, how long this time of buying and selling, we don't know. But when we look at history, we can see comparisons. We see comparisons with the Hebrews. We see them with the time of Noah. Matthew 24, Jesus is talking about the time of Noah in connection with the last days. This no buy, no sell. This is something that we have to be considering. Now, all throughout history, God's people were in the country. They were growing their food. They were living in the mountains. They were doing all of these things. Now, I want to read you another statement here. This is from Great Controversy, page 445. When the leading churches of the United States, uniting upon such points of doctrine as are held by them in common, shall influence the state to enforce their decrees and to sustain their institutions, then Protestant America will have formed an image of the Roman hierarchy, and the infliction of civil penalties upon dissenters will inevitably result. From this quotation, we can see what is happening in the USA right now is leading straight into this time where there's going to be a no buy, no sell because of the mark of the beast. Now, when we're talking about the mark of the beast, it has to go back to who the beast is. And this beast in Revelation 13 that is first talked about is none other than the papacy, who ruled from 538 AD to 1798. Now, if America is going to exercise all the power of the first beast, what does that mean? Well, the papacy, if we take a look in history, it was a world power. Now, not only was it a world power, it was church and state. They also enforced what is called a Sunday law. If you do not worship on Sunday, you were punished. Now let's go back to what the Bible has to say in Revelation 13. It says here, Let me read again, verse 17. And that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. Now the papacy says that their mark is Sunday observance. So we don't even have to guess. We just have to ask them and they will tell us. Now let's go back to verse 15 in chapter 13 of Revelation. And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. Now, this seems like a very scary topic. Thankfully, we see in the Old Testament that in Daniel 12, verse 1, when this time of trouble comes and they enforce this death decree, that God's people will not be killed. But before this time, during this Sunday law period, that is going to be in the image of the papacy, America, there's something very important that we need to keep in mind. And this brings me to our final quote. Again and again, the Lord has instructed that our people are to take their families away from the cities into the country where they can raise their own provisions. For in the future, the problem of buying and selling will be a very serious one. We should now begin to heed the instruction given us over and over again. Get out of the cities into rural districts where the houses are not crowded closely together and where you'll be free from the interference of enemies. Now, we just seen in this quote that we need to raise our own provisions. Now, what does this mean? What are provisions? What does raising our own provisions actually mean? What do we need in order to survive? We need heat. If we don't have heat, then we freeze. We need food. We need shelter. We need water. We need all of these things so that we can survive. Now, God is warning us ahead. When he warned Noah and said there's going to be a flood, there was going to be a flood coming. What did Noah do? Well, he ended up making this boat, and they were able to get onto the boat and survive the flood that was coming. Why? Because Noah had righteousness by faith. He took action because of his faith. His faith was proved by his works. His works showed his faith. When God said there's going to be a flood, he took action. Joseph was told there was going to be a famine for 7 years. In order to protect himself, he had to prepare. He got the warning and he took action. Now, what does that mean for you and me? Right in this quote we just seen that we are supposed to prepare. And we need to prepare to raise our own provisions. So we need to be able to have 3 essential things. And this needs to be on a country property that we are actually able to do these things. We need to be able to grow our own food. We need to have our own source of water. And we need wood. These are the resources that we need. We need food so that we don't starve, water so that we don't dehydrate, and we need wood so that we can cook, we can clean, and we can stay warm. These essential things. Now, if you want to know more about the coming events, this Saturday at 5:30 p.m. PST time, we're restarting our final countdown live stream, live Bible studies, and we're going through all of these different topics, the whole timeline of history. What is going to happen in the final events? What is the next event that you need to know about? But first, I want to talk to you about this a little bit more. You're probably wondering why I started this video in a grain field. And I was trying to show something. And that was, we're growing wheat here. At Amazing Discoveries, we are trying to show people, train people, how they can be self-sufficient. Everything from growing their own vegetables, all the way to the grain and the flour that makes the bread that they eat. These are skills that we're going to need to have. We need to be preparing for this time, just like Joseph was warned of the famine coming, and he prepared, Noah prepared his ark, all of these things. We need to have a faith that works. We need to move and take action because of the faith of the prophecies being fulfilled that we have. We need to be preparing for these very important events coming in the near future, this no buy, no sell, this Sunday law that is very close.
We have our simple proposition. Think about this. What if 1 million people pray for our country every single week between now and next July 4th? More specifically, what if believers all across this great nation got together with 10 people, friends, family members, colleagues, work associates, 10 people each week to pray for our country and for our fellow citizens? Let that sink in. 1 million people every single week, 10 people getting together to pray for our country and for her citizens. Think about the miracles that would take place over the next year. Think about the transformation that you and I could witness in communities all across the land. Sons returning to their fathers, daughters returning to their mothers, families coming back together, health being restored, financial needs being met, mountains being moved. Think about it. We're a nation that has always believed in the power of prayer. During the Constitutional Convention, when our founding fathers, and many of you know this, were discussing the formation of our country, Benjamin Franklin stopped the debate and asked the delegates to pray for guidance from the Lord God Almighty. He famously said, "If a sparrow cannot fall to the ground without his notice, is it probable that an empire can rise without his aid?" How many are grateful that God put that on the heart of Benjamin Franklin on that day?
This needs to be a wake-up call to all Christians, all people who keep the 10 Commandments, all those who do not want to receive the mark of the beast. This is a very bad thing. The Bible talks about the mark of the beast. Those who receive the mark of the beast receive of the plagues, and we don't want that. Revelation 18, the fourth angel's message, says, "Do not partake of her sins, so you do not receive of the plagues." And the only way we're going to stay and be protected and secure ourselves from having to take this mark of the beast is by being self-sufficient, is by preparing and building our anti-typical ark, is by doing the things we need to do now before the crisis hits. There's a storm coming, relentless in its fury. Are we prepared to meet it? Join us this Sabbath at 5:30 p.m. PST time. And for the next few weeks, every single week, we will be going over the final events of Bible prophecy, laying it out plain and simple, so that we know exactly where we are and exactly what we need to do. My prayer is that this wakes everyone up, that they stop being Laodicean, even myself included, that we don't say life is as usual. We've always heard of wars and rumors of wars. We've always seen the signs in the heavens, but we don't do anything about it. We need to take action now. God is giving us so much mercy. All we have to do is pray and say, "Lord, show me the next thing that I need to do. Show me the way, and I will go. It doesn't matter how hard it is. It doesn't matter what I have to learn. I believe your prophecies, and I will take action." We need to be prepared for the things coming. God is so merciful that He warns us ahead, and we need to do something about it. God bless, and we'll see you this Sabbath.